intake manifold is out again. So because I coupled everything, started the car, and the misfire came back. And this time it was not just misfire. The car entered into limp mode. So I scanned and it showed both that same cylinder 5 was still faulty, causing misfire, and then that showed the motorized throttle body issue. So what I now did was I removed the intake manifold again. I now did a continuity test. You can see from here with my digital multimeter. So I did a continuity test from here to this point. So and they were all well connected. So meaning the issue is not from the connection to the cylinder 5 ignition coil. Remember, I pulled the ignition coil and the spark plug from cylinder 3 to this and took the cylinder 5 from there to here. So for the cylinder 5 to misfire issue to still come back means the issue is no longer with the spark plug or the coil. So now I've ruled out the connection to the cylinder 5. So the remaining thing now is to check the fuel injectors. And so what I did was I removed the cylinder 5 fuel injectors separate. I want to check it, see how the spray pattern is, and flush it in, service it. Maybe later I'll come and do the remaining two before I put it back. So however, there's something else I also observed, because cylinder 5 is here on the intake manifold is this one. So when I checked the seal, this is one cylinder, this is the cylinder 5. So I could tell that this seal here is flat. So it's as if maybe there is a leak, vacuum leak from here. It appears so. So what I'm going to do, this could be the cause of both this cylinder misfire and the leak mode. So I'm going to apply RTV silicone gasket maker on this seal here before I mount it back. So I'm going to start the servicing of the fuel injector. This is the cylinder 5 one. So service it, see what happens to be sure it's spraying very well before I do the other two. Okay, I'll keep you guys updated. So I've coupled everything back. Like I said, I did hold on. Okay, so I did a continuity test from the ignition coil cylinder 5 to this place. Those are two connectors, and they were okay. Then I also did continuity test from the cylinder 5 fuel injector to this point, and they were all okay. So what I mean by, let me show you where I was showing so you guys understand. Hold on. So these two connectors I'm talking about. So cylinder 5 ignition coil up to this point here, they were showing it was well connected. Also fuel injectors, cylinder 5 to this point, so it was okay. So what I'm going to do now is start and see. Of course, I now put a silicone gasket maker on this intake manifold with those cells. The cell, I'll call it gasket, not cell anyway. The gasket is already flat, especially on that cylinder 5. So you see, it will take a while for the engines to start, because of course while removing the fuel injectors to service, of course the entire fuel on that particular fuel will, they're all poured out. So I know it will take a while for fuel to pump. We have to do it twice. expected. Okay, so I'll wait for a while. See, so far the misfire is gone, the limp mode is gone. So unlike before, I parked the car, I mean immediately you start the car, I mean the misfire comes up immediately. Then sometimes it may not come up, but when you take it for a drive, immediately you push the RPM close to maybe 2000, before you get to 3000 RPM, it starts to misfire. So I'll let the engine run for a while, and maybe I'll just take it for a short drive. I may need to go and add more fuel, but I want to conclude this fixing of this issue before I add fuel. So now know. So far from my suspect, from what I could see, it wasn't even the ignition coil or the spark plug or the fuel injectors. It was the gasket of the intake manifold. That's what I could suspect, because that's the only thing I know I did that that has a change on the system. I had to add, I put RTV silicon gasket maker there, and the one we call black gum in Nigeria. So the limp mode went away. Could remember I said limp mode came up immediately. Probably when I removed the intake manifold, tied it back, it became flatter. You couldn't even seal it anymore. So limp mode came up with the cylinder 5 misfire, but now 2 of them are off. So before I conclude, I need to take the car for a drive. I will let the engine warm up, take it for a drive, or maybe just take it for a drive now, see what happens. As soon as the oil temperature come up a little, I'll push it a little bit hard. So if it doesn't misfire, that means that the conclusion is the intake manifold gasket, so that other people will learn from it. Okay, so of course I disconnected the battery, so the days and the calendar, everything will be off on the time. So by the way, even though the spark plug was not the issue, but of course I still checked the electro gap with my feeler gauge. So for the ES9 J4S and ES9A engines, the electro gap is 1 mm. But for the EW engines and the TU5JP4, hold on, I need to remove this. Hold on, I want to show you guys the one you use for this. It's taking too long. Okay, it's coming up now. So for the EW, hold on, I want to show you the one you do for supposed to be here. Yes, so for EW engines, our EW engines, and then TU5JP4 is 0.90 mm. So you can see it's in mm. So it's 0.9 mm. While the ES9J4S, ES9A, that's the V6, is 1 mm. So I hope that clears it. So anyway, that's the advantage of the thermostat and the fan connection being in factory. You can see it's not up to 5 minutes. Look at where the coolant temperature gauge is. Of course, the oil temperature is still low. So, but had it been there's no thermostat there, and the fan is running constantly with the engine on, it means, yeah, the temperature will still be that cold. So So we'll see. So I'm going to do a drive and then get back to you guys and conclude the video, hopefully. So I've gone for the test drive and okay, more like a drive. It was a highway, high-speed drive, expressway drive. So I push it very hard. As you can see, the oil temperature where it is, in fact, it has even come before. It was somewhere almost 130. More like 25-kilometer drive. You see the trip meter here. So I pushed as hard. In fact, I was basically most of the time at 5,000 RPM. You know, so I wanted to be sure that the misfire will not come back. But like I was saying before, that time there's a time even when you switch off, start the car, misfire may go off. But as soon as you accelerate beyond 3,000 RPM, misfire comes again. So, but after this fix, I took it on highway, push all the gears at a point at now stage between 5,000 RPM. You know, I was just maintaining that 5,000 on most of the gears, and no misfire. So on my way back, I went and added fuel. As before, it was almost at 0, but now you can see it as I've added more fuel. I think I've added is it 50 liters or so, depending on what I think about 10,000 naira for. So I think it got me 50 liters or thereabout. So now at least you now know the solution to the fix. Let me switch off the engine, run it again. Okay, so at least you now know in this case it was the intake manifold gasket that was causing the misfire and the limp mode as well. So but you know, most times it could also be in the past the misfire are usually caused by spark plug, fuel injectors, but in this case it was the intake manifold. Okay, so anyway, so that is at least now if you drive a V6 Peugeot vehicle, at least you now know the solution, especially in fact even the ES9 J4, even though the manifold is different, but they're similar. So if you're having a misfire and showing you one cylinder specifically, and you know, so while removing the intake manifold to check the spark plug or the ignition coil, well, for the ES9 J4 and ES9A, yes, in that case you check the ignition coil, unlike the ES9 J4. So while removing the intake manifold, also look at that gasket under the manifold. Once it shows any sign that the gasket is no longer good enough, that is now flat and level with the manifold, then even though you might, I'll suggest you still check the spark plug, the fuel injector, if possible, if you have the technical know-how, you could still check the connection to the ignition coil and fuel injector. But if you don't, at least after checking these other things, fix that gasket issue. I don't think you'll be able to get a new gasket for the V6 intake manifold, these ES engines. So I would recommend you just use silicone gasket maker. Before now I was using that gasket maker, but I changed the seal. What was it? Was it last year or 2 years ago? I changed that seal. I got another used one that was better, so I didn't bother to put the seal again, put that silicone gasket maker anymore. So the seal eventually has given up and then started to cause vacuum leak there which now, from what I could see, was only one cylinder side that was flat, so it was affecting the combustion of that cylinder, and so that was why the misfire. And for what the ECU showed, it said ignition coil control. So you can understand that it was the ECU that was shutting it down. It wasn't like that the coil or spark plug was for, but what was controlling the coil was the reason. So in this case, it was actually the ECU that was cutting off power supply to that cylinder 5. So which was why it refused to work. So ECU has detected vacuum leak, or you know, what's it called, lean mixture or leak mixture of that cylinder, something like that. But of course, map sensor have done his work. So now you understand how interconnected these systems are. So the EGEC is always very sensitive. Any small, once it dictates anything, it will shut down that cylinder. So this video is basically specifically for ES V6 users. So the other engines, of course, their own designs are different, so it won't really tell. But it doesn't mean that a vacuum leak there will not also cause misfire or other kind of symptoms. Okay, so I think that is it for now. So let me see. I think the oil temperature has calmed down, because when I went on my way back, I entered fuel station to buy fuel, and because you know, I don't like engine running while buying fuel, I had to switch off the engine. Remember, I did a hot high speed drive. So normally before I switch off engine, I'm supposed to let the engine run for at least sometimes 10 minutes before I switch it off at idle, to let the temperature come down. But what now happened was, because I had to switch it off to buy fuel, by the time I finished buying fuel, the coolant temperature, I switched on ignition, the coolant temperature was almost after 100. It was somewhere around here, you know, to show you that at that time, even though it was showing 90 before I switched it off, the engine was extremely hot. So the temperature was so high that, but of course, immediately I started the car, the water pump started working, so it circulated the hotter part of the temperature coolant with the lower one, and the temperature came down again. So whenever you do this kind of hot speed drive, don't switch off your engine immediately. Let it run for about 10 minutes or so. Trust me, I know what I'm saying. I've always done this, but like I said, in this case, it was just I just had to buy this fuel, you know. So because it was almost about to enter that red zone, so I had to just stop and buy fuel on my way home. So anyway, so that is it for this video, and I hope you must have learned something from here. Alright, till another video.